Yeah, right, listen, the show is over. Wrap it up. He's from South London, innit? So we'll call it Southenders. Plays in Chelsea. To be honest, his performances have been like he's doing the Great British Bake Off. And I don't mean puddings. He's just high all the time. Like my chair, this man might be out for the season because Jadon Sancho is starting to piss off two fan bases at the same time.
Am I having mental issues again?
Things are really starting to derail for Jadon Sancho. Freedom's definition is as follows: the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants. Or a way to just really fuck off United fans. Yeah, things really blew up for Jadon Sancho over on Instagram when he started to back Marcus Rashford after the new loanee made his debut for Aston Villa in the FA Cup. Marcus has been all over the media himself in the last couple of months due to being frozen out of United's starting 11 and squad by new manager Ruben Amorim, who doesn't think he's training correctly and doesn't think he has the right mindset to represent United and represent Ruben. He's then made a loan move over to Aston Villa during the January transfer window. Jadon Sancho left a comment saying purely freedom, as if he's been released from the shackles of HMP Trafford, which, to be fair, given how United have performed this season, is probably true. The man's fallen upwards, by the way. Villa are just objectively a better football club than United right now, in pretty much every aspect apart from number of fans based in Nigeria. This comment went badly, it's fair to say. Now that you're free, what's stopping you? At Sancho. Pussyo. Fuck off your media anyway. Two lazy prats lying to each other. Yeah, you get a picture. Alright, United fans weren't best pleased, okay, by this response on, in the comments section. And it adds to a list of controversial woes that have plagued Jadon in a pretty short career so far. A point in his career where he should be ever improving and heading towards his prime, he's instead causing 9,000 reply threads on somebody else's Insta. Now, as a youth player, there was always hype for Jadon. He was kind of bouncing all over the place in terms of youth teams, played for Watford for a bit, and genuinely, that really should have been the low point of his career rather than what's happening now. He'd risk leaving Manchester City's youth setup to get more football over at Borussia Dortmund, and that risk would pay off. 53 goals and 67 assists for Dortmund, as well as second place in the Golden Boy Award in 2019. Jadon Sancho's curricular activities were progressing in a positive manner. He was doing well, is what I'm trying to say. But then, like all things that go badly in football, United came calling. £80 million, the longest transfer saga in human history, and more updates from Fabrizio Romano than a GameCube needs in the year 2025 meant that Jadon was a United player. He was heading to Old Trafford, and things were bad from the jump, are we honest? Yeah, no, it was never really a positive, to be frank. There was no honeymoon period. They were barely even married, I'll be honest. Things started badly, poor, personal form for Jadon. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was on the verge of getting sacked, and in the end he did. Cristiano Ronaldo was shoehorned in at United up front, which kind of pushed the likes of Marcus Rashford and a pixelated individual out into the wide areas for more competition with Jadon Sancho, as well as, of course, one of the best wingers of our generation, Dan James. But next up, after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's sacking, would come Erik ten Hag. Bad news for United fans generally, Manchester-based barbers, but even more crucially than that, Jadon himself. Erik didn't really like him, or it didn't really feature in Erik's plans from the jump. He brought in the likes of Anthony and former Ajax players, which again caused even more competition. 12 goals, 6 assists in the totality of his United career, and accusations of subpar training led to a rift between the two of them. And to be fair, exclusive footage of him trying to do a bleep test in the year 2023 did back up Erik's complaints. Jadon responded by heading over to Insta directly. He just needs to delete the app now, the more I think about it, and claiming that he was being used as a scapegoat, suggesting that his training and work ethic has always been positive in his career. This didn't go well. He was banished from the first team, removed from the club WhatsApp chat, and later spent a month away from football and training at a personal camp to improve mental health problems that he'd been suffering during his time at United. He was attempting to get himself back in a place where he's enjoying his football, and Erik ten Hag helped facilitate that, which in fairness I think is a positive thing. At the end of the day, a lot of people look to the amount of money that people like Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford earn and kind of negate the fact that sometimes, no matter how much money you have, you are still sad. So I think allowing that and allowing him to go off and do this sort of retreat almost for relaxation and to get his mind in a better place so as to hopefully help his footballing ability get to a better place was nice. Though I do kind of think Jadon was right in the first place. I think he was made to be a scapegoat a little bit. Something I think Amorim's done with Marcus Rashford too, especially given how sharp Marcus looks in an Aston Villa shirt straight off the bat. He did though fail to apologise to Erik ten Hag, was loaned out for 6 months to Borussia Dortmund, where in fairness he found himself some form again, even helping to take Borussia Dortmund to the Champions League final whilst his United teammates were back at home watching watching the game on Total Sport Tech. With United finishing 8th, Erik ten Hag arriving at his own funeral, calling it off only to die in terms of a managerial job there about 6 weeks later, Jadon was already on his way over to Chelsea for another kind of make or break loan spell. Would his form at Borussia Dortmund, his ability to go past players once again, and that feeling of positivity and confidence rejuvenate Jadon into having a positive loan spell at Chelsea? No.
No, God, no.
Nah, not even remotely. Things started all right, and I mean as in like the first 3 games. He looked confident, and then it's just kind of falling apart again. Bro's looking stinky once more. But most recently was a performance against Brighton, and whilst Chelsea were pretty appalling generally speaking, his performance was borderline unacceptable. His highlights, fair to say, is a little bit distracted as everyone was running in behind.
Take your time with it.
His recent ratings as well, this wasn't just a one-off, like he is stinking up the joint at the moment for the Blues. And having caused so much controversy with his freedom comment on Insta, ironically he was deciding to give Brighton's attackers freedom by not tracking back and bringing out the chill guy instead. You can't do that in the middle of the park when Brighton are about to score, boss. You got to show a little bit of defensive work ethic. Mikel Merino beat his goals tally for the season in 5 minutes. He's a DM. He was a substitute. And with Nicholas Jackson now out for Chelsea till the end of the season, Blues fans have got to watch their team play with no striker, maybe Nkunku, and then they've also got Jadon Sancho playing at the same time. Wrap it up. Keep it moving. Let's just go again next year. Him and the rest of Chelsea's front line till the end of the campaign is going to be a joke to watch. He's the first player to ever leave Manchester United and not get an immediate +10 on all attributes on his card. We're going to go from this guy almost winning the Golden Boy to being a backup at Everton, aren't we? I've seen it. Him and Dwight McNeil are reading from the same book right now. And that is sad. That is tragic. When we look back, right, at the excitement that there was about Jadon Sancho at Borussia Dortmund. This was, I mean, was it pre-Jude Bellingham? They were in a different year group, weren't they? Yeah, it was the same vibe. It was like he was absolutely killing it in the Bundesliga. He was doing well in the Champions League. It wasn't just Bundesliga tax. Though, to be honest with you, I do feel like, especially given he went back on loan and performed well again, found his feet again at Dortmund, I do feel like he is, well, relatively speaking, not quite the same as before, but I do think he is maybe just a player that's suited to German football because it is very different to the Prem. It's actually a bit more chaotic, but like more positively suited to forwards, I think. Defensively, the Bundesliga just isn't as good as the Premier League. The Premier League's very fast-paced, but it's still organised. It's still very difficult to break teams down. You don't have a chance to react. You do have to be willing to put in all of the distance-covered metrics if you are to perform and if you are to be successful in the Prem. I know it's a bit of a cliche. I know people say it all the time, but it is kind of true. Whereas the Bundesliga is just as chaotic, but also defensively not as strong. So you are going to put up good numbers if you're an attacker over there. Someone like Erling Haaland has proved that you can come to the Prem and still be massively successful. But then again, he does fail every capture test that he does. Jadon Sancho, as far as I'm aware, I mean, he logged into Instagram to post that comment, so he must have passed one at some point. But there's no doubt about Jadon Sancho's actual footballing ability. We wouldn't have got this far. United wouldn't have spent so much money. No, they spent 100 million on Anthony. They probably still would have spent that amount of money if he wasn't a good footballer, but that's obviously not the case. He performed in the Champions League, has performed in the Champions League since, has performed for England. It's just bizarre. I think he's been a little bit unlucky in the sense that both of the projects that he's walked into in the Premier League have been a little bit all over the place. Chelsea less so, but Manchester United going from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the end of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because it was chaos. It was all over the gaff. Ole did some great stuff for United, even though they were still a bit of a banter club at times. But that era with Ronaldo doing his interview, going into Ralph Rangnick, then going into Erik ten Hag, I don't really feel like Ten Hag really ever got going. Apart from the cup runs, they were always kind of poor in the Prem. He never got them firing where they should have been based on the squad that they had. He was unlucky with an injury crisis, then just completely fell off a cliff, had a disaster of a season and finished 8th. Obviously, he fell out with the manager. That is at the very least 50% on him. And it does raise the question about his mentality. You know, I know he suffered with his lack of love for football and like sort of mental health issues as well during that time, which should be taken lightly and with some sensitivity. But at the end of the day, he fell out with Erik ten Hag, didn't manage to rekindle that relationship and has now gone to Chelsea. And there are indicators that he's not trying hard enough and he's being a little bit unprofessional there too. For what it's worth, I think the actual repercussions or the conversation and reaction to Jadon Sancho doing that has been overblown. Like, the guy's going to sign for Chelsea. I know he's technically a United player. United players like pay his wages. Chelsea have an obligation where they sign him permanently if they finish above 15th in the league. To be fair, with their current form and Nicholas Jackson out, that's not a guarantee. For the sake sake of argument, he's going to be a Chelsea player, right? So in his mind, he's probably checked out from being a United footballer at this point. He's on loan for everything except technically legally binding. He's gonna be a Chelsea player. Is he just talking about, you know, actually having some freedom to go out and play? Because it is true, if we're being honest with you, Marcus Rashford was being held hostage at Manchester United. We don't know the ins and outs of whether he was actually training correctly, but being frozen out of your boyhood club, having been such a loyal servant, his form has been questionable at times. But I don't think Marcus Rashford's dedication has ever been questioned that much. He's not someone that tracks back, ever, but he's someone that's got a lot of love for the football club, and until kind of like 6 months ago, a lot of United fans had love for as well. Saying that you'd rather play your 67-year-old goalkeeping coach over Marcus Rashford, giving no actual evidence that he has been underperforming in training, having only taken about 5 training sessions in total, is a little bit disrespectful. I don't think it requires commenting that, but I do feel like there's a different reaction to stuff like that. Like, if Neil Maupay was commenting that, would people have the same visceral reaction to Jadon Sancho? I'm not saying it's a race thing at all.
Is it a colour thing?
I'm not actually saying that, because Everton fans hate Neil Maupay when he's bantering their football club all the time, even though he's on loan. But he's actually gonna go back to Everton. Jadon Sancho isn't. So as far as I'm concerned, I think the reaction's been a little bit overblown. You've got people like the European lad on Twitter that are just obsessed with him whenever he performs badly. Don't get it twisted, he's been playing shit. It's just a really bizarre, visceral reaction that I've seen from certain people over literally just commenting freedom on someone's Instagram. But whilst we're here, we do still have to talk about professionalism, because I'm not gonna lie, taking the whole freedom Instagram thing away as an isolated incident, okay, this is part of an issue that's been going on for a while. It's now a number of things that Jadon Sancho's kind of done or alluded to. Like, I don't think he dealt with the Erik ten Hag situation that well. He immediately just took to social media. No PR team. He's the opposite. He's anti-Rashford, man. He steals food from children. I'm not saying he probably, no, don't sue me. But like, realistically, that just needed some time to settle, sit down, make a statement like officially the next day or something. But no, like 20 minutes later, he's on Insta stories, like just going at Erik ten Hag. And I think that needed like a calmer head. I think at the time I said I rated it, and I do, but then I think the fact that it was just never resolved at all, ultimately it did hinder his career. He's not been able to settle down at United. He's not been able to settle down at any football club since. So the repercussions kind of just weren't really worth it, and that's the problem I have with Jadon. I think, like, again, we don't know any of these footballers personally, but to be in the position that he was in 2019, and to be the player that he is in 2025, is objectively disappointing, and he's really at risk of being a failed wonder kid. I'm gonna be honest with you, like, he can't be now at the age that he is, but if in 2 years this guy's still bopping around at, like, you know, Tottenham or something, and he's not locking down a first team spot, and he's not really setting the league alight, or he's even left the Premier League or whatever, and he's still not performing, he has to be. I think his next move, I mean, I say next move, he's gonna be a Chelsea player next season, but a lot of Chelsea fans are already against that. I saw someone say that they need to just sack off the whole season, finish lower than 15th so they don't sign him permanently. Like, he's gonna be entering a space, entering a football club where the fans already aren't sold on him. Assuming genuinely things don't work out at Chelsea, because I'm already assuming the worst. His next move after that is absolutely vital, and I hope for his sake he manages to find whatever that move is, or he manages to find some form at Chelsea, because a Jadon Sancho in form is genuinely such an entertaining footballer to watch. He just has to apply himself. He just has to stop getting into these like little petty situations where fans can turn on him, try and just clean up his PR a little bit, try and make himself squeaky clean just for a couple of years, and just do the expression out on a football pitch. You know, Jadon Sancho is a wonderful footballer when he's in form, and I want to see that. I want the best for him, genuinely. What do you make of Jadon? And what do you make of Jadon's time at Chelsea, his time at United, and his career so far? Are you disappointed with where he is, or has he got time to turn things around? Is he a failed wonder kid already, or is he going to prove us wrong? Drop it down in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to slap a like on it and subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.